Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're having a wonderful week like always. Well, today is the day that we have come to the end of my Grace Jones discography journey. Sad, I know, but all good things have to come to an end. And in today's video, I will be checking out her latest album from 2008, her 10th studio album called Hurricane. Now, this was her first album of new material in 19 years. Her prior album before Hurricane was released in 1989 called Bulletproof Heart. Now, originally Grace Jones did say that she would never release another album ever again, which to me sounds extremely criminal. So I'm very happy, even after all these years, 19 years, that she finally decided to put out her 10th studio album. Better late than never, I guess. Now, I am looking at the track list for Hurricane, and there are 9 tracks, and the album is 49 minutes, and I don't recall hearing any of these songs before. But anyway, enough talking, let's get into it with track number 1, This Is.
This is my voice, my weapon of choice. This is a beat, this is a cup, this is a story I didn't make up. Are you going into the light, down to sleep? Do you kind of float away? This is life. Most of my crimes are of optimism. 40,000 words of recognition. These are the words I didn't invent, only an attempt to see what I meant. Are you going into the desert? This is life. Onto the plane. This is a lawyer, professional liar. Yeah, knife in the fire. This is life. Lay down your spear, let go your fear. This is depression, it comes when you're blocking. This is expression, it comes when you're rocking.
Alrighty, that was track number 1, This Is, and oh my god, I really enjoyed this track. There's something very old school Grace Jones about it, but at the same time, it's very current and modern as well. So it's like the past meets the present, and I don't really know how to explain it. This does sound like Grace Jones, obviously, but there's also something very modern and fresh about it as well. I just love hearing her voice again. After all these years, 19 years, she still sounds great, and she still carries the same personality that she once had from the 80s. I also really enjoyed the lyrics on this track. This is life. Most of my crimes are of optimism, 40,000 volts of recognition. They tried to strip me of dignity, but I still have tenacity. These are the words I didn't invent, only attempt to say what I meant. This is the paper, this is the pen, this is my weapon, a means to an end. It does say here that Hurricane includes a number of autobiographical songs that include This Is, William's Blood, and I'm Cried Mother's Tears. I don't really know what she's actually singing about in the song. It does say that this song is autobiographical. This is the world still healing. This is mad, that's feeling. This is the world still turning. This is the rage still burning. This is the mad not learning. This is life. I feel like she might just be singing about her life and the world in general, that this is how it is, and this is how she overcame obstacles. This is who she is. This is what happened. Perhaps people tried to silence her, or people didn't want her to be a certain way, but this is who she is. This is her truth. These are her words. This is the world. This is what's happening. So this is life. So I essentially feel like that's what the song's about. So I loved everything about this track. I loved the production, the instruments, the guitar, her vocals, the lyrics, and the story of the song. So I loved everything about it. I would definitely listen to this track again. But anyway, let's move on to track number 2, William's Blood.
Having little baby.
Okay, that was track number 2, William's Blood, and I'm just gonna say it right now. I think this will end up being one of my favorite Grace Jones albums ever, and I didn't think that I would love this album as much as I'm loving it, and we're only 2 tracks in. I adore this song so much. I really enjoyed the melody, once again, the lyrics. I liked her singing, the choir, the instruments, just the overall production. I might be overreacting, honestly, but I think this album is top notch so far, and I'm so happy for Grace Jones. I'm so happy that after all these years, 19 years, that she put out an album like Hurricane. It's amazing. Amazing Grace. At the very end, she does sing a little bit of Amazing Grace, so it's wonderful, honestly. This is another autobiographical song from Grace, and she's saying, "You can't save me. You can't save a wretch like me." When she was 17, she married a preacher man, and she settled down in a little part of town. Followed him all around, having little babies, singing in a little church, in a little ghost town. And then she goes on to say, "Let me go, Hurricane, just let me go. Why don't you be a Jones like your sister and your brother Noel? I got the Williams blood in me." So, story-wise, I don't know if she's singing about herself specifically. I do feel like she's singing about her family overall. That grandpa dad traveled, played on the road. She does bring up her grandpa and her siblings, I believe. Why don't you be Jones like your sister and your brother, your sister, your grandpa, and dad, God bless his soul. I got the Williams blood in me. So I feel like when she brings up Williams blood, I originally thought maybe it was something religious. I don't know, but I feel like Williams blood might be referring to family blood, the lineage of a family tree, perhaps. It does say here that the song explains how Grace takes after her mother's musical side of the family rather than that of her disciplinarian father, Reverend Robert Jones. And the name of Grace's mother is Marjorie Jones Williams. Oh. According to the lyrics, Jones's mother reveals that her grandfather was a musician who traveled with Nat King Cole, womanizing and drinking from town to town. And at the end of the song, when Jones is singing 2 lines of Amazing Grace, her mother Marjorie can be heard singing the same hymn in church. The more I read about this song, the more fascinating it becomes. So what I really like about the song is lyrically, the story isn't a fictional song she just made up. It's autobiographical, it's about her family, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, honestly, this song and this album so far gets 2 thumbs up from me, and we're only 2 tracks in, oh my god. But anyway, let's move on to track number 3, Corporate Cannibal.
Pleased to meet you. Pleased to have you on my plate. Your meat is sweet to me. You won't hear me laughing as I terminate your day. Eating the tray for me. And I'm getting hungry. Grandmaster of fear. Mechanical, methodical, and chemical. I live in the market. Every man, woman, and child is a target. We can play a money game, greed game, power game. Stay
I can't, I'm done. I'm in love with this album. I don't know what to say. I'm shook. I'm shook to my core. I didn't think this album would be as good as it is. I might be overreacting. I don't know. Maybe a lot of people don't think this is a very good Grace Jones album. I don't know how people could think that. This is definitely better than Bulletproof Heart. It's better than Inside Story. So far, I feel like this is better than Slave to the Rhythm, even. Um, I feel like this could be her best album since, I don't know, Nightclubbing or perhaps Living My Life. I don't know. It's definitely, I feel like this is one of her best albums. And we're only 3 tracks in. I don't care what anyone says, I'm having a blast listening to this album. This song is so spooky, it's so odd, it's so weird. Oh my god. I mean, if Jeff Bezos had a theme song, it would probably be this. I kid you not. Pleased to have you on my plate. Your meat is sweet to me, your destiny, your fate. You're my life support. Your life is my sport. I'm a mad eating machine. You won't hear me laughing as I terminate your day. You can't trace my footsteps as I walk the other way. I can't get enough prey. Corporate cannibal. I'm a corporate cannibal, legalized criminal. Employer of the year, grandmaster of fear. I deal in the market. Every man, woman, and child is a target. A closet full of faceless, nameless, pay more for less emptiness. I mean, honestly, this does have corporate all over it. I won't lie. My rules, you fools. We can play the money game, greed game, power game. I mean, lyrically, I was gonna say lyrically, this is probably one of my favorite tracks on the album, which is the case. But honestly, I love the lyrics on all these songs so far. I feel like this album is very consistent so far, and we're only 3 tracks in. I enjoyed each of the songs equally. I haven't disliked any of the songs. I would listen to all these songs again, and once again, the production was amazing. Her voice, her personality, the songwriting, this is a very strong album, in my opinion. Now, Corporate Cannibal was released as the first single from the album, and lyrically, the song deals with exploiting the issue of corporate capitalism. Explaining what led Grace Jones to write the song, she said that she was very obsessed with the subject. She also described the song as being quite relevant to the times we live in now, with the whole Occupy movement and corporate greed, and that it pretty much sums up the scene in America that has defined our era. I won't lie, when I was reading the lyrics to the song, I was getting reminded of Amazon and Walmart and just all these conglomerates who are essentially destroying small businesses and just taking over the world with their greed and just the way they treat their employees from what I read in the news. And it's just money hungry and it's ruthless. And I really enjoyed what Grace is saying in the song. So let's move on to track number 4. I'm Crying, Mother's Tears.
In the water, she ran every morning, drenched in the rain, almost every school game. I'm strong enough, I'm tough enough, crying my mother's tears. Forever had died when my grandmother died. Her weakness is strength, she's unable to cry. I'm tough enough, I'm loved enough, I'm crying my mother's tears. I'm trying to cry every night as it goes, stay away. Melody of the praise, my myself, telling me full enough, I'm crying my mother's tears.
Okay, that was track number 4, I'm Crying, Mother's Tears, and this was another wonderful song to listen to. I really enjoyed it. I like the story once again that she's telling in the song. I like the melody. I also really enjoyed her singing on this track as well. It was very soft and sad and somber. I really liked it. I was there by her side when my grandmother died. Her weakness is strength. She's unable to cry. And lover's tears fell from father's eyes. She was all cried out. I'm strong enough. I'm tough enough. Slept enough. I'm crying my mother's tears. Little memories of our past remind me of how I used to make her mad. I'm crying. This is such a heart-wrenching song, and it really does tug at your heartstrings, and um, it's quite the emotional song. I liked listening to it. It's probably not a song I would listen to all the time because it is quite sad to listen to, especially for myself because I did lose my mom to cancer about a month and a half ago. So, reading songs like this and listening to songs like this isn't the best for me right now. So, it's definitely not a song I would listen to all the time. Not because I didn't like it, I loved it. It's a very beautiful track, but it is a little difficult for me to listen to. So, let's move on to track number 5, Well, Well, Well. This reminds me of Private Life, kind of.
Cat's eyes on the road again. Keep on blinking in my eyes. I'm on a tightrope. Now I'm losing time and sleep, and I can't tell right from wrong. This ain't the first time. Think I'm falling.
Okay, that was track number 5, Well, 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 and this track was reminding me of old school Grace Jones from the early to mid 80s, like Warm Leatherette. I was getting Private Life vibes from this track production wise. It's not my favorite track on the album so far, it is probably my least favorite. The lyrics didn't really interest me. They didn't really grab me. I still liked singing along to it, and I would listen to this song again. It's just not one of my favorites. Well, 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 I'm on a tightrope. Well, 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 I think I'm falling. Getting high and stayed out late. I have a heart that's big and strong, and I think I might go home again. Now I'm losing time and sleep, and I can't tell right from wrong, and I feel like I'm all alone again. So overall, I did enjoy the song. I loved the funkiness. It was reggae. I love the guitar as well. I don't find this song as intriguing as the other 4 tracks on the album so far. But let's move on to track number 6, Hurricane.
See me, here I come, and see where I run. I am sun, I can give birth to sheep, soft as a breeze, and I'll be a hurricane, ripping up trees. See where I run, no matter how far, soft as a breeze. And I'll be a hurricane, ripping up trees. I'm a hurricane, breaking up, tearing down trees.
Okay, that was track number 6, Hurricane, and this was another wonderful song. I like how it was more electronic sounding, and I loved the atmosphere of this track. And it's another great song lyrically as well. From the cradle to the grave, and I'll be a hurricane, ripping up trees. See me, here I come. Can't see where I run, no matter how far. I'll darken your sky, flowers will bloom when I walk by, and I can be cool. So lyrically, this is another great track, and overall, I did really enjoy this song. It's also quite spooky, I won't lie, the atmosphere of the track and the production. It does say here that Jones did collaborate with an artist called Tricky for the song, and the song was intended for an album called Force of Nature, which was planned to be released in 1998, but due to heavy disagreements between Grace and Tricky, the album was never completed. Now, I actually don't know who Tricky is. It says here that he is a British record producer and rapper. It also says that the genre of this track is trip hop, which I've never heard before. And trip hop is described as being a fusion of hip hop and electronica. Oh, wait, let me reword that. It's a fusion of hip hop and electronica until neither genre is recognizable. I find that really cool. I mean, production wise, I loved this song. So let's move on to track number 7, Love You to Life.
Don't ask me, will I die for you? Question always looks for an answer. I love you tonight. I love you tonight. And nothing else. If there is no law, there are no crimes. Is fear the air you breathe? I love you tonight. I love you tonight. Your creator is what you're jealous of. You're still existing on another plane. You play with the same feelings from the past. If I could have my way, there would never be an end to this beginning.
Okay, that was track number 7, Love You to Life. And this does sound like a song that Grace Jones could have released in the 80s. It has that aesthetic to it. I like the song. I guess it's not one of my favorites on the album. I didn't find it particularly engaging compared to a lot of the other tracks on the album. I did find it a little boring in my opinion. I don't want to say that because I've been in love with this album so far, but I did find it a little repetitive with the I love you to life, I love you to life, I won't ask you, I love you to life, to die for me, I love you to life. Could your dark heart be contagious? Would you pray for someone's demise? If there is no law, there are no crimes. Is fear the air you breathe? I love you to life and not to death. I did like the spoken verses in this song. It's very classic Grace Jones. She has done that in so many of her other songs. I just like her voice when she starts speaking in a song. It's so dark and ominous and strange and scary even, and I always enjoy her spoken word lyrics. It says here that the lyrics are based on a true story of one of Grace's lovers who was in a coma for several weeks, only to come around in front of her. His first word was Grace's name. So I like the story behind the song, but it's still not one of my favorites on the album. It was released as the 4th single. So let's move on to track number 8, Sunset Sunrise.
We share the moon in the right place at the right time to divide. It's not yours, it's not mine. Sunset, sunrise. Father and daughter we build a house. It's not yours, it's not mine.
Okay, that was track number 8, Sunset Sunrise, and I did enjoy this song. I enjoyed it more than track number 7, Love You to Life. Um, I don't really have much to say about it other than, once again, just like the rest of the album, I thought the production was really nice, and I liked the melody. The chorus was really cool as well. Fathers and daughters, mothers and sons, children of all children, there's only one love. We live together, but we die alone, and we toil the earth, into the earth we return. Is it yours? Is it mine? Is it ours to divide? It's not yours, it's not mine, it belongs to us. Sunset, sunrise. You can't buy the moon, you can't buy the stars, you can't buy the earth by selling gold coins, but you can buy the tree with the grass that's green. I really don't know what she's singing about in the song, to be honest with you. And then she does end the song with some French, which is nice. I feel like this wouldn't be a true Grace Jones album without her singing some French on the album. So if you guys know the meaning behind the song, just leave a comment and let me know. I did enjoy all the instruments on this track. I also liked the atmosphere, just like track number 6, Hurricane, where I did say I liked the atmosphere of that song. Once again, I really did like the atmosphere of this song as well. So we have come to the end of the album, track number 9, Devil in My Life.
Speak of the devil, and he will appear. Is it a crying shame how you begin? Is it a crying shame how you begin? Devil in my life. Why open heart? Freeze dry smile. Roll back my eyes tonight. Try to stop all the lies. Treading up the ice with your words so wise. Always in disguise. Devil in your eyes. The devil in my life. The crying shame. The devil in my life. The crying shame. Your power fed. We slit our wrists. Devil in my life. Treading on my instruction. With your words so wise.
Okay, that was track number 9, Devil in My Life, and this was a strong way to wrap up the album, in my opinion. Definitely one of my favorite tracks on the second half of the album, alongside Hurricane. I also enjoyed the use of the violin on this track, and I liked how it kept building towards the end. I don't know, I feel like this might actually be one of my favorite tracks on the album. I really like how this album is more electronic sounding with the dub. Of course, we have traditional Grace Jones sounds like the reggae and the funk, but it's more heavily influenced by dub and electronic, which is something I really enjoy. Now, it does say here that there was another edition of this album released 3 years later in 2011 called Hurricane Dub, which I guess is a remix album of sorts. And because I loved this album so much, I definitely want to check out the dub version of Hurricane. I don't know if I'm gonna do a video for it. I might. If you guys want me to, I might. There's no guarantee though. Devil in my life, treading on thin ice, with your words so wise, always in disguise. Devil in your eyes, I've seen it in your lies, slowly mesmerized. As I fall, you rise. Isn't it a crying shame how you became the devil in my life? You're the architect of my destruction. Tears that fell tonight, your power fed. We slit our wrists, but it was you who bled. This is another spooky, haunting song, which is why I really enjoyed it. So that was all 9 tracks of Hurricane by Grace Jones, and let me tell you, I was not expecting to love this album as much as I did. 19 years out of the game, and she comes back with an album like this, stronger than ever. I loved everything about it. The lyrics and, of course, the production, and her vocals still sound great. She hasn't lost that Grace Jones essence that we've come to love from her 80s albums and her personality, and she has grown so much since her prior album 19 years before, Bulletproof Heart. I also like how some of these songs are autobiographical. I learned a bit more about her, and the songwriting I feel like is quite strong on this album, and I loved all the different sounds and genres on this album. Not just funk and reggae, with some rock as well. We have some dub and electronic sounds, which is remarkable. I wasn't expecting this album to be as electronic sounding as it was. And there are tracks from this album that are throwbacks to her earlier work from the 80s, like Warm Leatherette. There were a couple songs that reminded me of Private Life in particular. I feel like this album is a concoction of old Grace Jones meets the new Grace Jones. 80s Grace Jones and 21st century, 2000s, 2010s Grace Jones. I also enjoyed the atmosphere of quite a few of these songs. Some of these songs were traditional, spooky, eerie Grace Jones songs, lyrically and production-wise, the spoken word, and overall, this has to be one of my favorite Grace Jones albums. I do feel like the first half of this album is a lot stronger than the second half. I wasn't the biggest fan of the second half of this album, but as a whole, I would listen to this album again, track by track. In my opinion, this album is definitely up there as one of her best albums of all time. So what did you guys think of the album? What are your impressions? Maybe you didn't like this album as much as me. Tell me why. This album was met with positive reception, and this album is one of her highest rated albums ever. So I think that's officially all I wanted to say on the album Hurricane. I really enjoyed myself, and that is officially a wrap on my Grace Jones discography journey. And let me just say, I thoroughly enjoyed myself. It was so fascinating for me to see how she progressed through the years, starting in the 70s with her first 3 disco albums, Studio 54. I remember watching that documentary on Netflix called, I think it's called Studio 54. And I saw pictures of Grace Jones in that documentary, and I was just so fascinated by her look, and I wanted to know more about her. I wanted to listen to her voice. So that's what led me down this Grace Jones rabbit hole, that documentary about Studio 54 and her disco albums, and then Warm Leatherette, and Living My Life, Nightclubbing, Enslaved to the Rhythm, Bulletproof Heart, Inside Story, now Hurricane. It was just so interesting to see how she progressed through the years and the decades, album to album. She is such a unique artist that has constantly been mimicked and duplicated by other musicians and other artists like Madonna and Lady Gaga. Even to this day, musicians are still influenced by not just her music, but her look and her style and her outfits. I mean, Grace Jones really did pave the way for a lot of other artists that were to come after her in the 90s and 2000s and 2010s. And I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna say it right now. Grace Jones, I feel like, hasn't been given... I feel like she hasn't been given enough love and respect. And it's a real shame because a lot of people don't really talk about Grace Jones. Oh, you know, there are musicians out there who say, oh, I was influenced by this artist, I was influenced by that artist. But when it comes to Grace Jones and her music, you don't really hear a lot of people talking about her, which is such a shame because she is such a revolutionary artist with her style and her music that I feel like she wasn't given what am I trying to say? She just wasn't given the, not respect, but she wasn't, I guess what I'm trying to say is she wasn't given the praise that she deserved. When you think of legendary musicians and artists, a lot of times Grace Jones isn't ever brought up. At least from my perspective, when you hear about revolutionary artists and some of the greatest musicians of all time from the 80s and 70s, a lot of times you don't really hear about Grace Jones. You don't really hear her name brought up. At least I never did growing up through the 90s and 2000s and 2010s. And even now, like, a lot of people just don't bring up her name. A lot of people have never listened to her. And it's such a shame because her catalog of music is so diverse and so eclectic and bizarre and creepy and beautiful. And it's just a real shame that she still hasn't been given the same love as a lot of other musicians who were influenced by her. What I also love about Grace Jones is she isn't afraid to be herself. She's so sassy. She is such a bitch sometimes, which is what I love in her lyrics and her storytelling, and she is such a fashion icon as well, and she knows she's hot shit, and she always will be. She deserves to be a sassy diva because she has proved herself over and over and over again through her music. What I also find fascinating about Grace Jones is her life and where she started. She was born in Jamaica, and then she started out as a model, I believe in New York. And then she started music, and the rest is history. Aside from her music, though, one of the most iconic things about Grace Jones is her personal appearance and her fashion and her style, her album artworks and her album covers, and how androgynous she is. And honestly, Grace Jones has some of the most iconic album covers in the history of music. I'm so happy I went on this Grace Jones discography journey, and there are definitely many, many songs from her that I will be listening to for the rest of my life. I also learned a lot about music by listening to Grace's albums, which is something I always want to happen when I go on these discography journeys. I always want to learn new things, not just about music, but life. I want to learn more about other people's perspectives and how their brain works. I want to learn more about creativity, and I just want to learn more about the world and music and people as a whole. So that's why I go on these discography journeys. So my final question to you is, what do you think of Grace Jones and her music? What does she mean to you? Maybe you were heavily influenced by her and her music or her style. Which of her albums are your favorite? Maybe you saw her live in concert. Maybe you actually met her. Maybe, I don't know, depending on how old you are watching my video, maybe you actually, I don't know, maybe you went to Studio 54. Oh my god, if you're watching this video, if you watched any of my Grace Jones videos, and you actually were inside Studio 54, if you were granted access inside, what was that like? I mean, I saw the documentary, but I can only imagine what it would have been like. But anyway, thanks for coming along on this Grace Jones discography journey. I really enjoyed myself. And here's to her next album, which, I don't know, I did a bit of research and I think she's working on a new album. That's from what I've read on the internet. I saw a couple pictures and she has alluded to the fact that she is working on a new album. So whether she's just kind of just played around in the studio or if she's actually serious about releasing another album, who knows? But when she does, whether it be next year or 2 years or 5 years from now, I will be here ready for it. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. You can find me on Instagram, you can find me on Twitter, you can message me, you can say, hey, how are you? So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care.